CC.
Hey, hello.
And Sim.
Hi everyone, finally back.
All right, let's get straight into it. So we'll start with some World Rugby news. Oh yeah, Mr. Paul O'Connell. He's retired this week.
Yeah, I've never cried so hard in my life. Oh wait, except when Brian O'Driscoll retired, and Shane Horgan, and Ronan O'Gara as well. It's just that time of the life again for me. But I suppose, yeah, he retired from international rugby. He retired from Munster. So really, it's just a formality at this stage. But you look at him, and he didn't retire in the way that he wanted to. So it's kind of just sad to see his career ends on such a, I suppose, not really a low note, but just kind of fizzle out that way.
I kind of feel he just went to Toulon and kind of had a look around and was like, nah, I don't want to stay here.
I love how Deck just trivialised the whole thing. Oh yeah, it's such a negative on his end of his career. I think maybe that's because he's a Munster legend, right? If he was Leinster, he'd be like, oh, a great career. A Titan for Leicester, for Ireland and Leinster, and he's my hero, and my heart broke when his hamstring tore.
That big, beautiful
I'm being called out straight away. Thanks for coming back, Sim. No, don't get me wrong. No, absolute stalwart and hero of Irish rugby, and we can tell straight away without him in the Six Nations, it's kind of taken a different turn this year, hasn't it? But I'm gutted that he's retired. I'm just I suppose the reason why I'm not going down the path of the way you said it is more so when he did leave Ireland and Munster, I did the kind of gushing back in November. And so now it's kind of, as I said,
I just carried on to the Six Nations.
Yeah, it has been like a prolonged retirement, hasn't it? With the injury and then the rehab and then...
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I'm kind of more... I feel bad for him that, it just didn't end in the note that he wanted it to, which was pretty much fly off down into the Mediterranean, take it easy with
I'm
the
guessing he's got some
sunshine,
kind of injury
post-match.
insurance anyway.
Yeah, I assume so.
Yeah, so that'll be... for his contract, he'll have a nice payday out of it anyway.
Well, generally what I assume now, I don't know if it's the case, but I assume clubs continue paying and they'll get the insurance payout.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so.
That would be nice for him.
And credit to him, I suppose before we move on, or before anybody has a new point, credit to him is he actually flew down to Toulon to make the announcement in person, as opposed to just picking up the phone with his leg up on the table in Limerick and say,
yeah,
hey,
that's a good
Murad,
point.
I'm not coming down. See you. Unfortunately, that's how it is. He actually went down, met not just Murad as well. He met a lot of players. I think, what was it? Murad had a funny comment to make. It was...
he's got a funny comment to make about everything.
But he didn't mean it in a bad way. It was genuinely funny. He goes, he wouldn't have the pleasure of winning at Toulon or something, he wouldn't have the experience of winning in the Stade Maillot. That was it, because he's never won there.
Okay.
Poor lad.
I mean, thing is, if you just read that in a paper, you might just think, oh God, this guy's an asshole. But, the more you actually listen to his personality and I suppose listen to the famous Blue Lemon on the Sub, you can tell the guy generally just likes to kick up a fuss, and it's just his personality, and he's kind of more of a light-hearted individual. He just likes to poke fun at things, and his reaction to it was, "Oh well, you don't want to have the experience of winning in the Stade Maillot."
I think this is set up prime now for a Declan heel turn, straight from Leinster into a Toulon, happy, loving Toulon, top 14 fan now. I think that's prime time for that now.
I've actually gone on record on the Sub as well, and I suppose I've eaten my proverbial hat, and I have conceded that Toulon is a good team. So, yeah, I'll
I haven't got a on the Sub. I can tell it's happening slowly, step by step. This time next year, you'll be there, Toulon jersey, cheering on Dylan Armitage as your favourite player.
Oh, he's not yours?
Dylan Armitage isn't even Dylan Armitage's favourite player.
He's not even their mother's favourite.
Yeah, she prefers Stefan as well.
Toulon fullbacks, Mr. Goromaru, after his campaign with the Reds, which kind of surprises me that he's going to Toulon.
Well, the Reds have actually come out and said that that's all false.
Have they?
Yeah.
Goromaru signed for Toulon?
Well,
That's the rumours. But
apparently
I think the Reds weren't happy hearing that. I don't think.
The Reds haven't even played a game yet.
Yeah, I know. And he's already signed off. That's why I was kind of thinking it was.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And what was the other bit of fun news? Oh, you remember the Romanian player who proposed to his missus?
I heard he got married, didn't he, this week?
Yeah, he got married this week. It's a nice little bit of...
To the same girl, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah. Or her younger
How
sister.
Turn up? Like, yeah, getting married to a sister.
And on that note, we'll go into the Six Nations chat. So this weekend was the second round, and we'll get it chronologically. We'll go through. So first game, France-Ireland. What were people's views of the game?
What game? I suppose I might as well just jump in first. Horribly boring match, and that's something I think all four of us can agree on here. You know, Ireland was playing fantastic for the first 20, you know, was dominating the first 45 minutes until that new first row came on, and we just couldn't convert any of that into points. Thinking that the first penalty that we got, we kicked for corner. If we would have just kicked that over and gotten the other three penalties, hey, you know, this would be a different outcome right now. But you know, hindsight is 2020. I think, well, Shadon, you did say earlier that he's not going to be cited, or
looks like Maestri's just escaped a citing. It looks like
that's just a disgrace.
The citing commissioner said it was just short of being a red, so I suppose they can't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like I said to you guys, the problem here is that, you know, it's a guy who's got an injury history and he's been targeted. And concussions, obviously, are a massive issue in the game right now.
Right, so let's just talk this through. It was Maestri going in late on Sexton, wasn't it, after the ball had
that's right.
gone. Yeah. I see, whenever I've played, at whatever level, no matter who I'm playing, if you're a forward, the first thing you're told is to rattle the 10. You go in and put an absolutely massive hit on him, whatever it is.
Yeah, sure.
I've never been
told
that by any coach. Like, targeting the 10 is... Well,
no, that's fine, right? Because, I mean, as a 10 myself, you used to get that. But the problem that I have is that when you haven't got the ball and when it's just outright to hurt somebody off the ball, then, I mean, when we used to play, you know, there's no TMO. If you did that to me, then you got to fight after that. But rugby's not a self-policing game anymore. There's no rucking.
Well, no,
this
was my next point. If that has happened, then the next thing is either for the ref to pick up on it, he's right in front of it and he gives a penalty.
Yeah.
Or it's up to the captain to make it known, like in the right way. You don't want to nag all the time because that's counterproductive. But Rory Best should be going over there and chatting to him and saying, "Look, do you mind reviewing that, or could you watch these they keep putting late hits on?"
It brings in the point of some people have been calling for like a captain's challenge or something like that, just to introduce, like they have in tennis or like they have in American football, just so they can go and review something, maybe only 3 times a match or have a limit on it, obviously.
Yeah.
Whether that
moan about the TMOs though. People moan about TMOs being used. Captain thing all.
The other issue that you have is that even if you do get the call and he gets a yellow card, for me, that's not much of a deterrent. If you lose a player for 10 minutes compared to knocking out the opposition playmaker when the drop-offs from Sexton to Madigan. Also, the fact that at the end of the day, it's putting his health at risk, long-term health. You might lose him for 2-3 games. You might lose
all of us think it was a yellow card.
Well, I'm going to be the most biased of us all. I would have said a yellow card would have been fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's intentional. It's off the ball.
Yeah.
I'd say yellow cards, but I suppose if they can't do anything about it afterwards, then do you think something needs to be changed, or do you think
I think so. Yeah, I mean, if the player who came back from persistent concussions and you're putting late hits on him.
It's a contact sport, though. You can't cotton wrap.
Oh yeah, it's a contact sport, but is it contact when he hasn't got the ball? It's late, and it's just to hurt him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's still quite difficult to judge. Well, no, not judge. You know, it's from your perspective, you've judged that he's gone out with a view to injure a player with an injury profile.
Yeah.
But that's something that I just don't think is possible to prove that the intent was there,
The,
or
the only
that's
problem
what he
that I
wanted
have
to
is,
do.
oh no, sure, but the only problem I have is when players aren't expecting a hit, and naturally, so once you've played a pass and you start to relax, you're not braced for that hit, in the sense that you would if it was a hit that wasn't late.
Yeah.
And then when it is late, then that's the time where it tends to do more damage. You get that whiplash effect from your neck because you aren't tense up all through your core, and then next thing you know, you've got a neck strain, or head whips back, and you've got a concussion again. And you've got to have some kind of deterrent. People have got to be able to look at these after the game and cite people, even if it wasn't a red card offence. I think it happens too often. It happened in the World Cup, I think, with a couple of.
It's happened a few
Not in a
times,
similar
yeah.
way. There was where players like, oh, it's a yellow card offence. We're not going to take any more action against it.
I mean, funnily enough, the whole idea of captain's challenge came up as a discussion point both on the sub and at different, I think, media outlets and even other podcasts. And
A
they were
lot of
talking
sports
about,
do it.
yeah,
A
they
lot
were
of
talking.
cricket introduced it quite recently.
But what I kept hearing over and over again was only in the final 10 to 20 minutes of a match. So, I don't know. And if you have a limited amount and you have three and you use them up all in the first half, so I don't know.
It's arbitrary, isn't it? Because then you'll get the argument of what if something happens outside of that final 20 minutes and it's, game defining and you can't challenge it, where there's a challenge available in the last 20 minutes. A bit unfair, isn't it? So.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's doubly a bit weird that at the moment World Rugby wants to scale back the TMO.
Yeah. Well, the TMOs weren't very helpful over the weekend.
Sorry, but George Ayoub, he.
Which game was he doing again? He was doing he doing Ireland against
both Ireland against France as well as the Italian match in Rome.
So he wasn't responsible for the completely way offside try.
No. But George Ayoub, I don't know, was he? I think he came to my attention back during the World Cup as well, and they were he was easily hands down the worst TMO. As soon as kickoff happened, I realised he was the TMO. I wrote it in the match threads, and I wanted to make sure that was on record before anything controversial happened. Because he's just whenever I see him, I just know straight away, oh dear God, the TMO is going to be dodgy as fuck, basically.
I mean, from watching Super Rugby last year,
you can't be blaming the TMO for this, though.
No, I'm not blaming the TMO for.
Oh no,
for
sure,
the
yeah.
results. I'm just saying
from
that he's
watching Super Rugby last year,
Yeah.
It seems like Ayoub's problem is that he wants to be the referee, and wants to do it from the booth anyway. So, but it just seems odd to me that in this instance he didn't get involved then, because ordinarily he'd be hot onto it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying objectively, and that's just not talking about this specific match or result. I'm not blaming any officials for the result of a match. I think that's pretty petty.
Just going on to the match itself.
A bad TMO.
Yeah. I mean, just going on to the match itself, and there's one point about being boring, and I was sitting there just thinking, what am I watching? I don't understand the Irish game plan, because it seems to me that in attack, when you go wide, there's one tactic, it's the Sexton loop, and if it doesn't work, we're going to do the Sexton loop again. And firstly, it puts him at risk of being in these late hits anyway. But, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of variation. It's the year after the World Cup. If you're going to try something, you may as well try new things now.
Yeah, see, this was going to be my next point. Is Irish rugby, it's very, like, Schmidt's game plan is very centralised around Sexton.
Yeah.
It's always been with his kicks, getting up and unders and getting the wingers involved. For the club this year, he hasn't been in great form, and obviously the tactics haven't changed too much. Just the Sexton loop. I mean, I went to see Ireland, Canada, and they did that loop about 20 times in a game. It seemed like I could see it every single time.
I mean,
do you think it's time to panic, or is it? I
wouldn't panic yet. Well, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, we've got maybe a 5% chance, if not less, of winning this championship. Let's be realistic about it. The time for panic is gone. So you look at it now and you go, I'm not going to worry if there's a decent amount of experimentation. And you'll see, go on the sub, again, you're going to see Irish fans from all four provinces saying, we want to see a bit of variation, we want to see something change up. You know, all three other non-Leinster provinces are quite annoyed that their guys are on the squad, they're not being picked, they don't have them to pick for their own provinces. We see every single international window, our guys go off, play, get injured, and you know they're not available to us then after the match as well.
That's the problem with Ireland. I think it's always our guys, our guys. Everyone's always so provincial about it.
You know what, you're right, and I think it actually came up in the post-match analysis straight after the match as well. It was said, I think it might have been, I want to say Conor O'Shea, but I'm not too sure about that. Basically, it might have been Ronan O'Gara. You know, Wales has horrible regions. They're just not good. I mean, you know, they lose to certain Italian teams when. Hey, Cardiff Blues, yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot you didn't want to talk about the Pro 12. So you know, the regions. You would have really only ever looked at Scarlets back in the early 2000s being decent, and then since then the Ospreys. There's never really been two at the same time, but then they come together, and you have the foreign playing Welsh players coming back as well. They just managed to gel into the Welsh team because the Welsh team is literally the be-all and end-all. Whereas then you look at Ireland, and no matter what, it's still broken down into four, but despite the fact that Ireland is the most important, there still is, as you said, provincial rugby. And I think it was Ronan O'Gara who said, look, it's not as optimal as, say, the Welsh setup with, you know, feeding into their national team.
So if you were going to change, like, if as a Leinster fan, I'd get, like, the squad is predominantly Leinster, like, base players. If you're trying to be as unbiased as possible, if you're going to pick three positions or three things you would change with the Irish team, what would you do if you were Joe Schmidt?
Well, I wouldn't pick McFadden to come in and cover. That made no sense to me, and I don't think it made sense to any Leinster fan. Looking at it, I would maybe select someone else in the place of both Carneys. I'd like to see Payne at fullback. Give Gilroy a chance as well. McCluskey at centre with Henshaw. Apart from that, in the back line, that's fine. Really, then the rest of the squad, you know, I wouldn't be averse to giving, from this point on, Stander a go at 8. Maybe not against England, but definitely against Scotland and Italy. I'd throw Stander in at number 8. Those would be the three off the top of my head.
See, this is the thing with England as well, like, and that kind of baffles me a bit with Ireland is for you only, like, I've pointed it out before, but for fly halves we have Ford and Farrell. Scotland have Russell, Jackson, Weir. Wales have Priestland and Bigger. And then you go to Ireland, and they do have Madigan as a backup and Jackson as a backup, but they don't get any decent amount of game time.
Yeah,
I'd
play them against Scotland and Ireland.
I'd actually like to see Jackson start and have Madigan as cover.
Yeah,
it's a good point because the thing is that Ireland seems to have two game plans. One when Sexton's there and one without, and maybe they'd be better served if they played one game plan and had continuity to it and used him more in, you know, in a different way when he does play.
Yeah, I just think it's heavily reliant on one player, and if he's not on form, then it's.
I mean, more than any team more than any other international team, it seems like it's reliant on one player.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And to be honest, he hasn't necessarily played bad for Ireland at all. I think he's played fine in both matches, but just, I mean, you know, every team knows that it's all about Sexton. Yeah. That's just it. Like,
and then when he does go off, and then he gets targeted even more because they know the massive drop off afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the French then? They've picked up 2 wins, kind of not convincing by any stretch of the imagination, but
2 out of 2 is good. I mean,
2 out of 2.
tactically, Deck made a point about they brought the front rows on. What was it, the 44th or the 48th minute?
44th or 45th, yeah.
Yeah. So what I've noticed is that just tactically speaking, if you're in a tight game or if you're losing, sometimes it's better served to bring on that front row early, get that front row boost, and then try and build that lead, and then just hold on to it for the last 10 minutes where you normally would have got that boost.
This is something that England have started doing with Jones. I'll probably talk about a bit later on, but bringing on the subs has definitely been one of the things.
England have a different problem with that, though, don't they?
Yeah, we can go on to that.
You can't take your captain off in the 44th minute.
Yeah. I don't know if French needed wholesale changes, to be honest. I don't know if it's more of personnel or if it was a coaching change that being needed. I don't know if Guinevere will be the man, but
I still don't know. We've seen 2 matches, and I don't know if there's been improvement or not. I mean, in fairness, last year it was 18 was the final score. Ireland 18, France either 9 or 10. They scored the only try in the match. The year before, again, it was a 2-pointer or 3-pointer. I mean, either of those matches could have gone for France as well.
This is
this just happens to be one that went in France's favour. I don't know if there has been or has not been improvement.
Yeah,
it could sometimes, a game, one score either way, it doesn't really show you that much of anything really. I mean, there's 2 games. There's no such thing as form in 2 games, and like you say, one try goes a different way in a 1-score game, and it's a win's a loss and a loss is a win. But just a couple of points. I mean, because I haven't been really keeping up. Is Fofana injured at the moment, or has he been dropped?
I don't actually know. Yeah, let me just find that out.
Quick to the Wikipedia.
I'm not actually sure, but they dropped Bastero.
Well, yeah, I can see why.
But Fiku's been pretty awesome, to be honest.
There's personal reasons for Fiku, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dante had a good. What was his name? Dante. He has a good few games. Starting.
I thought that he seems that he's big but a bit one-dimensional again.
And they bring in Police on as well. He
seems to have better hands than Bastero, though. Even if he is another big centre, he's a bit better with the passing than Bastero was or is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bastero. I just words fail me. I can't do that.
So let's move on to the Wales-Scotland game then, the game afterwards.
Yeah, which was a much better and much more entertaining game. I mean, I watched this on delay after I came back home. I watched it, so I forwarded through the waiting for the scrums and things. So maybe that affected my thinking it was a much better game. But it seemed like it had a lot more flow to it than the earlier match.
Yeah, it was a few more scores as well. It was slightly more interesting. And Fofana was injured as well. He injured his ribs.
Okay.
The Saturday before.
Was it Clancy for the referee for this match between? Was it Clancy or was it?
It was Clancy.
Clancy. Yeah. So sorry
Clancy
about that, guys.
Was horrible.
So sorry about that. I can't apologise enough.
So I want to talk about that Gareth Davis try because it's obviously going to come up at some point.
It was beautiful.
And basically, I was thinking about why it was awarded when it shouldn't have been. And looking at the way it went is. Sim mentioned it earlier with the TMOs and how some of them are quite mouthy and sort of want to ref the game themselves, but some of them sort of prefer deferring to the ref and following exact instructions. And if you look at when Clancy went back to check with the TMO, they never checked Gareth Davis being offside from the kick. Yeah. He was behind Clancy when that happened, so we couldn't have seen it in real time. Mm-hmm. The offside they were checking was from the tap back from Jamie Roberts. They saw it touch the hand of I can't remember who the Scottish player was, but it touched his hand. And in that situation, had Gareth Davis not been onside from the kick, he would have been put onside anyway. That's what TMO was asked to check.
The problem with that rule is, even if it was tapped back, because he was within 10 meters.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he was onside. I'm saying that's what the TMO was asked to check.
Mm-hmm.
And where some TMOs would have gone back further and said, no, look, he was offside in the first place. He shouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm.
Clancy didn't notice that. He couldn't have seen it. He only asked about the other possible offside, and the TMO didn't check the other one.
Which is
They
ridiculous
just
in a
answered
way because
Clancy's question.
he was so far ahead, wasn't he? He was so far.
He
in
was,
front.
yeah. He was, yeah.
How many? But how many phases were involved? Because aren't they limited by the amount
It
of
was the
phases?
same phase.
Oh, it
there
was the
no
same one.
phases.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
FYI, I was extremely hungover at this point, and after watching one horrible match, I just couldn't, keep my eyes open.
Give up on
So
life.
unfortunately, I'll just be honest, I gave up on life after that defeat, and I missed the match. So apologies for not knowing that.
There.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Gareth Davis is that he's perfecting he's becoming the Welsh Wilgenia in a way, running from offside from kicks, trying to fall over players who are trying to get out of the way at the ruck, and trying to milk penalties that way. Just generally having a very punchable face too. Reece Webb might have a challenge when he comes back.
Reece Webb is definitely top.
Reece Webb's definitely better.
faces.
Definitely better.
It's that haircut as well that just does it.
So yeah, but again, just going on to Clancy again, he was terrible when I watched the match. I paused it at one stage because Alan Wynne-Jones, whenever Alan Wynne-Jones is the first ruck defender on the edge on the fringes, he's never onside. He just stands offside. It's not that he comes out early; he just stands in an offside position. Clancy just looks at him. It's like, yeah, you just keep doing you, mate. I'll just referee everybody else. If it's Bradley Davis,
play the ref.
You won't let him come offside. But Alan Wynne-Jones is allowed to stand a foot further beyond the ruck than anyone else is.
You tell him he's
which
not
is just hilarious.
So the game as a whole was pretty open. I thought Wales were good, but not spectacular. I thought Scotland, while they were good in parts, they were generally pretty sloppy in defence. There was that George North try at the end, which was woeful. I think there was about 3 missed tackles in it. I don't know. I think Wales
trying to search for more attacking verve, they opened themselves up and sacrificed a bit of defensive stability and left holes of their own to be exploited in trying to go that way.
Well, they have the backline now, Scotland, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Seymour had himself a real game, didn't he? It was catching everything, making breaks.
Yeah.
And he did everything that he could, but what can you do sometimes when your line out doesn't exist? You can't really do anything.
Yeah, and then you got Finn Russell doing the little chip kick through for Seymour as well. That was absolutely beautiful. You see how he drops the ball onto his foot, like he knows exactly what he's doing and gets the bounce perfect for it. It's so hard to do. I couldn't do it. Probably why he's an international 10. And then you got Duncan Taylor as well, making that tackle on the Tom James break.
Yeah.
Serious wheels.
Tom James, I forgot that he'd still played, to be honest.
Mr. Cardiff Blues, is he?
Yeah, he's had a great season with Cardiff and deservedly starting over Cuthbert because obviously they've been able to compare them one against the other, both playing for the same team.
To be fair, I think right now I deservedly start over Cuthbert as well.
But I think Reece Webb is on his way back.
He played the weekend, didn't he?
He played half an hour for Ospreys.
Really?
Yeah, he had a brilliant game. He came on and the Ospreys turned on basically and came on and managed to win away in Munster, which is huge, especially for the Ospreys side that they picked. It was a young side. They had a centre on the wing. It was a bit of a mess, and they managed to come away with the win. As soon as Reece Webb came on, he changed it. The attack was much better, and I think if he comes back for Wales halfway through the Six Nations, he could really, really make a difference. Because Gareth Davis is good, but he's not Reece Webb good.
Yeah. So if you Warren Gatland, would you be pretty happy with how things are going right now?
No, I suppose happy with the way that that the classic game plan is still working. That hasn't sort of stopped, because if we didn't have that, we'd have nothing.
Yeah.
Happy that that's still working, but not really that pleased that we still can't do anything else. Even with bringing Liam Williams back, that's kind of hoping that he'd bring something, but that can't rely on one person.
Do you think? Right, this might be a bit controversial, but Jamie Roberts, he is a fantastic player, and he kind of highlighted why he's good on the weekend, crashing over from 5 meters. I think he's a good player, but do you think changing him to like a more, I don't know, like a more distribution 12? Do you think that would?
I don't think.
Or do you think that?
I don't think you. If you wanted to change the style of 12 Wales have, you'd have to change the 12. You can't change how Jamie Roberts plays.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I
okay,
think
right.
else
just do put in there.
of-
Scott
But
Williams
I think
would be great.
Scott Williams is injured.
Oh yeah, he is. I
Because
forgot.
otherwise he'd be starting over Jamie Roberts, I think.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think after the World Cup, if Jamie Roberts hadn't had the great start he had to the first 2 games,
Yeah.
and Scott Williams was still around, he would have started against Ireland and he would have started against Scotland.
The whole quota thing as well.
And
Falatau and everyone goes off.
yeah, and there's, I mean, but unfortunately, behind Jamie Roberts in the squad at the moment, we got Corey Allen, who is good, but he's again more similar to Jamie Roberts than Scott Williams. So we haven't really got much of a distributing 12 as Scott Williams was or is, and as much as we need.
Well, you can always retrain Priestland.
He's been Priestland's been playing at 12 for Bath a couple of times. He said he's not done it much, but he's just doing what he's asked, basically.
The other problem is he's a bit rubbish.
Yeah, we'll just forget why we're paying him 300.
I don't know. I don't think Priestland's more of an instinctive 10. I think Gatland likes someone bigger who can follow a plan and execute it perfectly. Priestland is more flashy, I suppose. He more tries to do his own thing, a bit like James Hook.
But the thing is, I think that's what Wales need.
I maybe, but
I think what they need to do is tell Bigger to play with the handbrake off, because I think there's a lot more there that could be tapped into if they tried.
It kind of helps when he had Webb inside him, though.
Reece Priestland loves Webb inside him too.
For Scotland, they've had two losses, one at home to England and then this one. What are people's opinions on them?
Well, you were the one of us that was in Scotland, no?
I was, yeah.
How's your opinion of that match and the 27 pints you had with the guys?
No, well, I was on a stag do on that weekend, so I was feeling a bit worse for wear for the England-Scotland game, but it didn't help me at all. That England won, but I think that's the only positive I've taken from that Saturday.
Jesus Christ! Don't let Charlie hear you say that.
Oh yeah, well, I did meet the other guys as well, so I suppose there's 2 positives.
There I was thinking you were just saying it was a horrible experience. I met up the guys, I was so hungover, and I just couldn't drink. So,
yeah. So for me, I don't know. I think Scotland have finally got the 10 situation sorted. I mean, the days of Dan Parks are over. They don't have to play the game around the 10 that just kicks for the corner. And they've got the back line to do it, but they just need consistency. They need to get a team sort of down. They've got their imports. They've got Nellen and things, Strauss, Hardy. I think they kind of just need to get. The defence was awful. There was some absolute woeful tackling. I don't know what you guys thought.
Well, against Wales, I mean, was it George North ran past 4 or 5 players?
Laidlaw, Hardy, and then there was at least 2 others. I think he went past.
At least, it was definitely 4. I'm actually tempted to even say there was a 5th player in there.
But it's always harder when you're not exploited. The first person misses it. You're kind of making up for lost ground. So
it's also pretty difficult when it's George North.
Like Adam, that's all well and good to say in general for rugby, but at that level, I don't like that.
I'm not defending it, but
but I mean, for guys that it's their job day in and day out, if that would have been any other team in the Six Nations except Italy, you would be left with your jaw open. Like, just how can Ireland, let George North through 5 players? I mean, you'd be inconceivable. That's unforgivable, that try.
Yeah, and
that defensive lack of effort.
Well, these scores are the things that are killing them. 1-score games.
Yeah. Well, you're telling me.
Like yeah. Right, let's go on to the last game of the weekend, the Sunday one. So it was Italy, England. Who wants to start us off here?
Well, seeing as nobody's putting up their hands.
For once.
Man, well, I don't know what was wrong with England in that first half. I mean, I'm happy to see Italy with a number 10. Canna. Now, something tells me that someone on this podcast doesn't like him.
That would be me.
Yeah, well, I don't think you like him.
I don't have anything against him as, a player or anything. It's just that decision. Whenever you've got a penalty coming, why go for a drop goal? There's only one situation in which, in any way that it could be possible to do that. And that's if you desperately need the 3 points. They desperately didn't need the 3 points. They could have gone for anything, try to create a try. But no, going to kick the drop goal.
Did they score
Just
from
don't
the...
understand it.
Did they score from the resulting penalty? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I can, I suppose, rationalise why that was done was that he felt he could take the 3 points, as in the penalty, and just screw it, give it to me. Just kick the ball away, doesn't matter where it goes.
But that's fine. I mean, he could easily have tried a cross kick instead and gave a winger something to chase and possibly got 5, maybe 7 out of it.
Have you?
They tried that again, and Parise was on the end of it. So I mean,
yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, and that didn't really work out too well.
Again, he's basically D12's Eminem, isn't he? In that team.
Do you want to just have a chat about Parise there?
Yeah, I think
Fill up
that's
a
right,
chair.
isn't it?
Fill up a chair.
The problem with Parise. The problem with Parise is that, he's obviously a great player. He's a great talent, but I think it's been drummed into him so many times, and the surrounding hype about him is he is Italy, and then he does act like everything is his job, and doesn't even give anybody really the chance to do their job. I mean, who knows? That winger might have done a better job of going against Anthony Watson for that cross kick, but no. Because Parise is going to do it, and I think maybe overall it harms the team development. Whereas if he did his job and nobody else's, maybe they'd win a few more games. Maybe other team players in the team would be more empowered, and maybe his own teammates would like him a little bit, which might help if he's a captain.
Do you think he's disliked by his own team?
They probably think he's a bit of a showboating. I want to do it all, take all the credit, prima donna.
He is pretty good though.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I don't know. I don't think he had the best of games on Sunday anyway. I thought he made it. I don't know. I don't think he was his usual best.
I think Campagnaro is becoming Italy's best player.
Oh, that was.
I definitely agree. He's quality.
And he absolutely flattened Joseph as well.
Multiple times.
Yeah, I saw that.
Multiple times, sadly. But Italy do what Italy do best, which is play for the first half and then gradually fall off. And
a 60-minute team.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't even 60 minutes. It was about 50 this time. And then it just all went to pot.
I think they could have made it 60 if they didn't throw an interception pass.
Yeah, it was that killed them. It really did.
In fairness, though, as well, they had about the same amount of injuries that Ireland had too. So, when you're forced to make substitutions that early in the first half as well, especially for a team like Italy, Ireland was able to fight on to the very end, but Italy,
Garcia was putting some absolute massive hits in as well. He looked very solid.
I'll be honest, so far this tournament, every team has managed to disappoint me in some way, shape or form. The only team that has had any sort of positive effect on me has been Italy, despite the fact they've lost 2 games in a row. Just the fact that they're not losing by 30 points to France at home.
I did say that. I did say that I had a lot of bad things to say about the Six Nations, but one thing that's impressed me is about Northern Hemisphere rugby at the moment. There's a lot of good 13s, 12s, and 13s knocking about right now. I mean, I like Henshaw for Ireland, Campagnaro, like you said, but Elliot Daly is a real quality player. It's a shame that he's not been in the matchday squad at all yet so far. There's Mark Bennett. Mark Bennett, I think, is probably the best 13 north of the equator at the moment.
I don't know. That's a bold call. I don't think.
I think sometimes the quality of the players around him, the play around him, drags the perception of his performance down. Whereas I think he's always looks like he's dangerous.
I think Scotland centres.
His basic skills are brilliant. I think
we've got Matt Scott, Duncan Taylor, Finn Russell. He's got 2 quality wingers and a quality fullback around him. I don't think Mark Bennett is not surrounded by quality players.
The problem with Hogg is Hogg is another Parise.
Hogg is, I'd like for Glasgow this year. He's been pretty crap.
Well, I haven't seen much of that, but I think he's another Parise.
It was a game against Northampton in the European Cup, and he gave away 2 tries. His catching from the high ball was awful. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think he's one of these. Yeah.
If you had to pick a Lions, if you had to pick a Lions 12 and 13 now, who would it be?
Ooh.
Lions 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Campagnaro. Oh wait, no, Lions. I wasn't listening.
Just another mention on the 13s. Fiku as well. Fiku's a great talent too. Before we go on to the Lions.
Henshaw and JJ. They're my 2.
I wouldn't like Jonathan Joseph against New Zealand. It seems like he's already been figured out, and I think he's got to add something more than that. One outside break.
But I think he's solid in defence, even if he gets flattened by Campagnaro. Counteract myself. But I think generally he's been pretty solid for England. And then I think
solid for England. Solid for England isn't probably the the criteria that I'd go for if I was going to take a team to the Lions to play.
Who would you pick?
Well, it's a bit of a difficult one. I mean, I'd have Henshaw. At the moment, I'd go with Bennett, but I'd like to see Elliot Daly because I think Elliot Daly could, be the standout centre in the Northern Hemisphere. But it just seems like he's not going to get a game because if Joseph keeps on scoring tries, Elliot Daly's not really going to get much of a look in, is he?
The thing with me for England, as an England fan over the years, is we always look for the next best thing. Jonathan Joseph was easily our best player in the last Six Nations. Like, he stood out head and shoulders above the rest. And then not even a year's gone, and we're already trying to get the next best thing shoehorned in. I'm not saying that Daly isn't better or if he's worse, but we're already, like, we do it with Clifford, we've done it with the Tudje. I think it's been good the way we've done it.
Yeah.
Bringing them on, giving them a good 20, 30 minutes. I don't think just bringing in a new player each time they're the next best thing is the best thing for them.
I think the issue that I have, though, is if you're going to bring Daly into the fold, it has to be this year rather than next year. I mean, next year you have the Lions, players go after the Lions, and it just kind of adds a different dynamic to the whole season. And the season after that, it's the year before the World Cup. And all of a sudden, then you're saying, "Oh,
just because he's not in the Lions tour doesn't mean he's not going to be."
I know. I mean, like, other players will be going to the Lions, so it adds a different feel to the squads, to the rest of the squad. And then all of a sudden, then you're 2 years out from the World Cup, and then Eddie Jones wants to have players in this team that have got 30, 40 caps, and then Elliot Daly's got 5, and all of a sudden, you're wondering whether you could do with this guy who seems like he's always playing well for Wasps. I mean, Wasps isn't test level, but whenever I've seen him, he looks exciting. He looks, dependable, and he's got an eye for a break. Gives something that maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, you could always try Joseph in a different position too. I mean, or even Daly in a different position. I just think that it'd be negligent not to give him a couple of games at least this year.
I think maybe I would have said the Italy game would have been the one to do it. But,
I agree. Yeah.
I would have had him at least.
Or the
on the
Scotland
bench.
game, or the Italy game. Yeah.
Had him instead of Good, but that didn't happen.
Exactly. I mean, is Good going to be there at the next World Cup?
Yeah, we'll see. So Italy, just I don't know what's wrong. Maybe they've finally found the 10 in Canada. I'm not really sure, but I was reading some article in The Economist saying that their kicking percentage in the last 5 years is about like 30%, or just above 30%, and that is absolutely awful.
I think Kelly Haimona has contributed to.
I was about to say, like, Haimona, was it last year, had maybe a 60% success rate? That's extremely low. If even.
Awful. I don't know if it was as bad as 30. I can see if I can find it. But
it's even worse when you've got a competition where you're up against so many accurate kickers. I mean, obviously, Wales have Halfpenny and Bigger, and England have Ford and Farrell. And when you're up against players like that, they'll make you look even worse.
Yeah, but having a kicker is such a big part of the game now, and they've not had one for a long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, look at top 14 teams just buying players in because they're good kickers.
I don't know why I said 30%. It's down at 63%.
Yeah. I was going to say 30%.
60.
You may as well never.
I was when I was saying it, I was like, that's definitely way off.
Tier 2 teams with better kick percentages than Italy.
It's like kicking from the
Ben Volavola kicking more.
Or Sergio Parise.
No wonder he's trying to drop goals.
Well, he's landed one before, or was it more than one, for Stade Francais?
Just going back onto that with Parise, I mean, if you're the number 8 and then you take the drop goal, you're the fly half now.
Damn right.
So he needs to get out of the
You've
pack.
taken his job. The other guy may as well just walk off the pitch because he hasn't got a position. Yeah, the other guy should pack down in the scrum now. That's it.
Swap positions. Okay, into the pack. Oh God.
Sounds good.
And technically, I think Parise is now the Italy coach too, because if he can, make that kind of decision just like that, he's not the captain anymore. He's the coach. Yeah.
I have a feeling someone's not a fan of Parise.
No. I'm not saying that as a bad mark on Parise. I'm saying that. Put it this way: if I'm playing in a match and my coach is like, "Yeah, you're the 10," and I start packing down in the scrum just on my own volition, I'm the coach now. Yeah. I've taken an executive decision.
I'm just trying to imagine a fly half just going, all right, guys, just joining you in the scrum today.
But really, Sergio Parise, technically, he's the greatest player in the world, right? Because he's not only is he an 8, he's also a 10, and he's also a coach too.
Well, kind of, it's not the exact same thing, but you're also reminding me of Jaco Paper. Hey, guys, I'm just going to join the ruck there, clear out the lines. Oh, hey, look, the ball.
Pulling players out.
Get out of the way.
That's not
what
what
a ref does. What are you doing?
It's like, I just want to get a better view, lads, here. If somebody grounds the ball in the meantime, it doesn't really matter.
Hey, Rob Carney, what are you doing down here?
England,
I like that That's a good reference.
Wait.
England, well, they've not really been convincing in the first 2 games, but they've not conceded a try in both the games, and they're both away from home.
Mm-hmm.
But they were both Italy and Scotland.
Yeah, well, that was my next point. Not the most impressive of opponents, sorry guys, but they are the worst ranked out of the 2, out of the tournament. But it's been 2 games. Defence is solid. You build from your defence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than happy seeing us just kind of. I don't care if we don't win the 6 stations. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
But it's always the same after a World Cup year. I'd rather just see us
That's true,
at least trying to play well than. Yeah, I don't know. That's the main aim. I think.
The one issue that I have, and I mean, it's probably been done to death and been discussed by you guys, but I mean, I haven't really said anything about it yet because I haven't been around. But just the Hartley thing as a captain, regardless of anything else, I don't see how having a hooker as your captain in this modern way of the game is going to work. I mean, if you're taking your front rows off to get that bench impact, and additionally, like we're seeing now that the last 20, 25 minutes of the game is so important that you need to have your bench hooker on.
But the thing is,
you're putting yourself at a disadvantage because then your captain for the most important period of the game isn't your regular captain, right?
As influential as captains are, every team needs about 5 or 6 players who are like leadership quality and who are able to step in.
Mm.
But the problem is England named their vice captains. What was it? Farrell, Mike Brown, and Billy Vunipola.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at it that way,
when you leave them to sort of run the team, you get a bit worried.
Well, Farrell's been captain for Sarries, I think. and I don't think I'd be too worried if he was put in captain. I don't know. I'm probably in the rare few that's kind of all right with Hartley.
But then you come to the position where you have to keep Farrell in the team. Then
So
you don't have to, but
I mean, if he's on the pitch, you can't really make it to 12 if he's your captain. Then,
I suppose
although I don't know why you take him off if in the last 20 minutes where he's kicking so valuable.
Yeah, but
what are you gonna say, CC?
Well, it was me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just on the point of, you said, you don't get the point of having a hooker as a captain. Who is that now? England, Ireland, Australia, France. Who else? All have hookers as captains.
Oh, sure, yeah, but I mean, just because it's widely done doesn't
I'm just
mean
curious,
it's
because it seems to be the thing at the moment.
I mean, with Argentina have Creevy, obviously, but with Argentina, they want Creevy to play 80 minutes a lot of the time, if he can, unless he's carrying some kind of knock, in which case they'll bring him off. But I mean, with Rory Best again, there's issues there beyond being a captain. It's like the line-out throwing just isn't good enough at the moment. But I mean, if a counterpoint would be also that the team that did win the World Cup had an 80-minute man for their captain.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, like I say, I mean, I just prefer to have somebody who's going to be, not necessarily always subbed off in every game, coming up to the point where the games tend to be
Hartley does
lost
play
these days.
quite a lot of games. He plays like 78th minute.
Sure, but again, in that, would you rather have, from minute 60 to 80, would you rather have, a fresh hooker, or would you rather have a 60-minute old?
I hope that vice captain would be able to step in and stand up.
I think we all know what the solution is.
The other thing about Hartley is if he's playing more than 60 minutes, it just, cumulatively increases the chance that he's going to do something absolutely stupid. He's playing 25% more. Well, no, he's playing a third more of the minutes that he usually would. So, the likelihood is he's a third more likely to do something stupid.
Yeah.
The stat that always cracks me up, that his bans have been longer than Sam Burgess's rugby career, which always kind of makes me laugh / cry at the same time.
I never thought of it that way.
There are a few things, there are a lot of things that are longer than his career, in fairness.
But can't believe it, yeah. Another Sam Burgess mention, 6 months after the World Cup.
I'll try and get them in each time. Don't worry. I'll get them in each time.
Yeah.
Sam Burgess bingo.
So
that biased English media again.
Okay, it was all Sam as well.
The Francophile, was it the Francophile English media? Was that a thing? I don't know.
Francophobe, not Francophile.
Oh, Francophobe.
Yeah. Oh, that biased Anglophone media.
Francophile takes a hold you immediately.
What's the story behind that? Sorry, I wasn't aware of it.
There's just an interesting comment or two. The thread about Ireland, I think, was it the Telegraph? Said that they were unhappy with how France had targeted Sexton, and that he should be banned for the rest of the season.
Well, this is the thing, because if I agree with that, and this is the thing, if France had a 10 worth talking about, and then he got taken out in a game, those same French people who are moaning about it in the comments now about this bias in the media, they'd be the first ones saying how disgraceful it was that their 10's been targeted.
They did, like last year when Laws took out Plisson.
I was going to say
But Plisson's terrible. Why would they even moan about that? It's an advantage if he's not on the pitch.
Well, the exact same thing happened last year.
Definitely did. Right, if you guys are going to pick winners, I know it's only week 2, but who would you pick to win the Six Nations?
France.
You're laughing while you're saying it. Suggests I feel you're not sincere.
Well, look, for me, it's a bit of a toss-up between Wales and England, but because Wales already has a draw, it just really comes down to who's going to win that one test.
Yeah,
Wales.
Yeah, I think if Wales and England win next week, it comes down to the match at Twickenham.
Yeah, and
it wouldn't surprise me if France won it, though. I mean, I think they'll beat Scotland, and then, have they got England in France, or is it in England?
In Paris,
it's in England, isn't it? Oh, if it's in Paris, I think they'll beat England too, and then they'll lose to Wales, and they'll finish with 4 wins and a loss, I think.
I don't think so. I don't think they'll beat England.
That game could be a dead rubber by the end of it because it's the last game on the day, France, England.
Well, let's be honest. Again, why was England conservative in their selection against Italy? Because you wanted to make sure that you're going to win. And, hey, ended up getting, 5 tries in the end. So, I think that was a little unexpected because of the early injuries to Italy. And, it ended up going well for England.
I can't believe I just tipped a team to win that's got police on as 10. I want to take that back.
Yeah.
And go with Wales.
But I mean, England's in a good position right now, in a very good position, easily in the best of the tournament. Problem is, Ireland is just a small team. France just went in too physical against us. We ended up coming out with broken bodies. That's not going to happen to England in Paris, not even close. And then France has to play Wales in Cardiff. And again, you can't do that to the Welsh as well, no matter which team you are. So I just don't see France bullying either team like they did Ireland.
Just to say, South Africa did do it.
Well, yeah. Then again,
but that's because they were all 6'5" and 125 kilos.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the summer. But hey, Wales would
have you got South Africa though?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, that's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got.
You've got no players left right now. You wait until July comes around.
All right, so Six Nations winners. Who are we having?
I'm going to go.
I'm going to go with Wales.
Wales.
Yeah,
CC?
Wales for me too.
He's going for England.
I'm saying if Wales and England win next week, it comes down to Twickenham, and I'm not going to.
I feel like that doesn't answer the question.
He's really not confident about.
I feel like you have to jump off the fence and pick a side.
My brain, my treacherous backstabbing brain, is telling me England.
Oh God.
Yes, that's it. Join the dark side. I'm going with England.
The reason why I'd kind of think that as well is I don't see Ireland beating England in Twickenham. I don't think we're going to mix the team up like everybody's calling for. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a conservative enough selection, maybe one or two interesting players. So I think there's going to be a lot of angry fans in the sub.
And just going on from here, then, from that, is Joe Schmidt going to coach the Lions next year? Then?
No. Oh no, that's already ruled out.
Oh, is it definitely ruled out?
Yeah, that's completely 100%
not part of his
ruled
contract
out.
Not to do it.
Yeah, he is not allowed to.
So it's going to be Gatland again.
Exactly. Gatland. It's guaranteed. But so I don't see us beating England. So if we do, definitely Wales. If we don't, then as Welsh Adam said, it's going to come down to just the you're in Twickenham as well, yeah. It's going to come down to England Wales. And I kind of lean towards England for that.
I think that Wales have just got that psychological edge after that World Cup win.
Really? I think England are just they just really want to prove something this year. Wales was the team that upset it for them.
I can't wait till England get into that situation, where they're, I think maybe 3 points behind and they get a penalty and they've got to decide whether to kick it into the
minutes.
Let's not relive this pain.
I think Wales just need to recreate the circumstances that led to the win. So just put a scrum half on the wing, kill half our players, and just try and go for that again.
Right. So we've done the winners. Who's wooden spoon this year?
Italy.
Italy, yeah, I'd go with Italy.
It's going to be Italy, Scotland, Ireland, France, and then I have no idea. I feel bad by saying France.
So are we all picking England, Wales as the top two then?
Yeah. Well, at least I am.
I am as well. I can't stay with
please on. No just way. Basically please on.
Please on just means
Italy, CC.
What about what to win?
Spoon.
Oh right, okay, no. Yeah, I don't know. I think. I mean, what if Scotland have got to play Italy in Rome, haven't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
I bet Parise will take the wooden spoon home with him if they do get the wooden spoon. No one else is ever going to see that.
Hey, at least he won something.
Yeah, it's the next weekend. Not next weekend, 2 weekends away.
I think Italy will be encouraged and Scotland will be disheartened, and I think Scotland might take the wooden spoon.
Do you know what else is starting next weekend?
Something
no one cares about.
Something.
Oh yeah, it's just a little plug for the preview show that's going to be coming up next week. We've got the mailbag edition and the full Super Rugby preview. There might be a couple of articles coming around with it, but make sure you stick around for it. It's going to be great having real rugby back soon.
Someone kick him out.
We'll give him his 5 seconds.
But seriously, it should be a fun podcast. Adam's going to be in it, and
Yep, I'll be making.
Charlie's going to be in it too. Is there anybody else? I think there is a fourth person. I'm forgetting.
We'll drag some more in. We'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. But it's going to be great. So there's going to be betting tips for you, those of you that want to lose a lot of money. I've got a nailed on 20-1 top try scorer tip. So make sure you tune in.
Oh, he's guaranteeing you money as well. That's
I did say if they want to lose a lot of money.
Right. So
Is it Nadolo?
No. Never pick anybody that's got Vola as a 10, and never pick an All Black either, because the All Blacks always get rotated out too much. It's going to be James Lowe, giving it away, but yeah.
So you've just given away the reason for people to listen to that podcast.
But there's going to be at least 5 other great bets too.
At least 5.
At least 5. So you can make them into a 6-fold, and donate a portion of your profits to Line Break Rugby when you become a millionaire off my back.
We should all put on 5's worth of bets and just stick on accumulators and see how terribly we do. I've never done rugby bet. I reckon
this is a great idea. It's the start of something.
I've never actually.
But yeah, if anybody does have any mailbag questions, just feel free to PM them to us, and the best ones will probably make it through. So if they're rubbish, don't bother.
So we've had some questions raised with was it subs? Declan, do you want to explain a little?
Yeah, I suppose it was just something I stumbled across while trawling through the sub as I usually do, and spamming threads left, right, and centre. For the life of me, I forget who it was. It was an Ulster poster and an Irish poster. Someone I had res tagged, so I'm going to assume it was either a Munster or Leinster fan who's changed their flair. But basically, they were talking about bringing Ulster players on, and who do you have in sub and bench and so on. And up came the suggestion, why is it 8 subs? Basically, you have 8 subs, you can use all of them, and you kind of have to, or you really should be using your first 3. So why not have more of a football/soccer style of doing it, which is cover every single position, but still limit the amount of subs that you're going to make to those 8. And I think we chatted about this once or twice, and I think Sim, you like the sound of this idea.
100%.
From my perspective, what this would allow is, first off, if you have an injured player, that's going to take priority. But regardless of if there's a player injured or not, it allows some more flexibility in terms of strategy and tactics in the second half or in the final quarter or 2 quarters. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, one example is when in the first Lions test against Australia. I think Australia lost Liliafano, who was playing 12 for them in the first couple of minutes, and then lost McCabe, who came on. I think it was McCabe. After in the second half with about 20 minutes to go, they had to end up playing Michael Hooper at centre because they'd ran out of backs to put in, and Hooper was the one that was caught out of position for I think it was a Driscoll's try in the first test. So it has a direct impact, and if anything stops games from being influenced by injury, then it's a great idea. And then this way, you've got innovation coming in. You can decide whether you want to add a couple of new centres. You would change your centres out, add a new fullback, and you can feel free to do it. And I think it's a great idea.
Right, so I'm guessing I've got a couple of things. First, I'm guessing you mean the internationals for football, because with club football, there's about 7 or 8 subs.
Oh yeah, sure.
Internationals, you can have 20. I think it's 23. So you can have 2 replacement goalies. You can have absolutely massive bench with as many replacements as you want. Do you mean like that?
Even in club football, you can have more replacements than you can use, right? Whereas in rugby, you can use your whole bench. But in club football, you have extra players, so you've got options.
Yeah,
and you got to remember that it's 11. You've got 7 players that you can have a bench for. So it makes sense that in rugby, if you had a something to mirror the international game, 15 on the bench, 15 on the pitch, it'd be great.
Yes, Yeah, go
Do
ahead.
you think having more international players kind of reduces the club? Would you only do this internationally, or would you do this with club rugby as well?
Well, I mean, I suppose from my perspective, I was only thinking about international. I didn't really put much thought into whether you do it at professional club level. Um,
Surely this will reduce the amount of like quality on show at the clubs, which is
You
already
have match day
poor
31s
versus
anyway,
system.
don't you?
well,
Or
yeah, that's it. Like, you're not going to be. I mean, like, I don't know. Would you increase the size of the squad overall to 40, 50 players, or are we going to say keep it at 35, 40, and then you just pick a match day, 30 as opposed to
yeah,
23?
because you're only going to use 23 of them.
And
Yeah.
and again, you're only allowed to use 23 of those. Now, the other question is, what if we limit the, you got positions where you have, say, lock. You have, okay, I mean, you do have a difference in style of both locks and both wingers. But what if you just said one winger and one lock instead? So you've reduced it by 2 straight away. So instead of 15, maybe 13. I don't know. Does that make sense? Or just cover every single position. That way, you have a specialist, or you just allow for different tactics. I mean, it's something that.
So would the front row be excluded from the limit? Because there's the safety things with the
Yeah,
rugby. You have to have a replacement front row.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, just the way it is now, you have 8, and you can make 8. But essentially, you have to have those covered for the 3. I mean, that's not going to change. So all you're doing is increasing it from that 3 front row plus 5 to 3 front row plus 12, just covering every
All
position.
I'm saying is if there's a point in the match where replacements have been made for whatever reason outside the front row, and all 8 replacements have been taken up that aren't in the front row, and then for an injury reason you need to replace.
Oh no, you can only make 5. You can only make 5 non-front row replacements.
Exactly, yeah. So the rules, those rules aren't going to change. That they are there now. We're pretty much just saying
you just wanting more like tactical options, basically.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and health. Again, like health does come into it. But yeah, it does allow. I mean, the strange thing is, like, you look at benches in the last while, and some teams they've picked a player or someone in a position that they just haven't needed because they were worried about what was going to happen. For example, Ireland in the World Cup, and I think last Six Nations, let's pick Felix Jones, and never play him. Like, I mean, if we had coverage then in every other position, maybe someone else would have been picked, or maybe he would have actually gone on because maybe just the tactics would have completely and utterly changed in other positions. We just don't know, but it's pretty much just giving coaches more leeway to change their tactics, or to have the cover in case of injury, or but I mean, it is a bit strange that in just such a physical and strategic game, there's no
game, but there should be more opportunities to have a bigger pool of replacements, and it wouldn't change their match day squad preparation at all, because all these players who are in the 31 in a 31 would be ready for the match, just in case there's an injury in the pre-match warm-up.
Yeah, they're all sitting in the stands anyway of every match.
Yeah. They do have a match day 25. They'd have a forward and a back replacement already sitting there waiting. I don't know. I think you could only do this internationally to start with.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea though, especially if it stopped matches from potentially being decided by an injury.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way: if Ireland had Sexton get injured in the 2nd minute, Madigan gets injured in the 30th minute, they're probably going to lose.
Probably.
But I mean, that's the same with football, though. If you have a goalie and then he gets injured, then the replacement goalie gets injured. Like, there's only...
The other problem is with that analogy is that it's far less likely that a goalkeeper gets injured than the next goalkeeper gets injured, because in football, injuries are just less frequent.
Goalies can get injured.
I mean, but when was the last time you ever saw 2 goalkeepers get injured for the same team in a match? I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
I'm going to
Guarantee it's happened somewhere.
FIFA check. I remember FIFA check.
But on that,
Chelsea against Reading in 2005. That's one I remember.
But on that, I mean, there are a lot of back row players that have played in different positions, at least for some period of their career, or are familiar with it, or could slot in, not be an optimal replacement. But at
Sam
least
Burgess.
Sam Burgess slotting into number 10. Or Sergio Parise. But basically, you know, there will be someone who's, you know, in that back line. They're able to slot in elsewhere.
So that famous game between Scunthorpe United and Bristol City back in January last year, both goalkeepers broke their arms.
That's rough.
Sorry, what and how?
They lost both their goalkeepers. They both broke their arms.
How do both
They must have been
goalkeepers
having a
break
really,
both their
really
arms?
intense arm wrestle.
Slocum was injured punching away across after 8 minutes and had to be
God.
replaced by James Seven. He let in a goal and a penalty.
Broke his arm in frustration.
He injured it in the collision with one of the other players. Well, there you go.
The
There you
more
go.
you know.
The more you know.
This has never happened to me in a game of FIFA. Just saying.
Punch the ball and break your arm.
Just your console lets out this scream of pain when it
Somebody's
happens.
got to investigate those balls. They're breaking people's arms.
You're not supposed to play with medicine balls. Just saying.
All right, should we wrap it up there? Thanks for listening, guys. And tune in for our Super Rugby podcast, which we'll be hoping to drop in the next few days.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Definitely tune in.
Awesome. All right, cheers. Thanks for listening.
Cool. See you next week, guys.
Like,
Bye.
subscribe, and all that.
Bye.